Hello class 10th, hope you all are fit and fine and concentrating in your studies. Students, this is your last video before summer holidays in biology. So it's a good time for you to concentrate in your studies as well as revise all the chapters and complete your all pending work. Students, still some of you are not regular with your assignments, so it's better to complete your assignments and send it to me through email, right? Today in this video I am starting a new chapter, that is your absorption by roots. It is the most fundamental process occurring in plants which have a tremendous importance in their life. Let's start the chapter. Plants have the ability to absorb water through their entire surface, right from root, stem, leaves, flowers, etc. However, underground root system is specialized to absorb water as water is available mostly in the soil. The roots are immensely useful for the plants. Let's discuss first the main functions of roots. We all know that roots, they anchor the plant in the ground. They absorb water and minerals from the soil, and root bring water and minerals up to the stems. And last is your roots, they store food also. Out of all these functions, the main function of roots is to anchor the plant in the soil and to absorb water and minerals from the soil. But the question is, what is the need of water and minerals for the plants? And the answer is that water is an essential component of protoplasm. It is an excellent solvent in which the minerals and other solutes are dissolved. And it is involved in almost all the chemical reactions that takes place in a cell. Water is needed in a plant body for the following functions. First is your photosynthesis, second is your transpiration, third is your transportation, and fourth is your mechanical stiffness. Green leaves of the plant, they use water and carbon dioxide as raw material for synthesis of glucose by the process of photosynthesis. Right? So water is the main raw material for the process of photosynthesis. Next is your transpiration. A large amount of water is lost in the form of water vapors from the aerial parts of the plant in order to produce cooling effect and a suction force. Next is your transportation. Transportation of mineral salts from roots upwards into the shoots with the help of xylem, and movement of glucose in downward direction from leaves to all other parts of plant is brought about by the phloem with the help of water only. So water is the only solvent substance which help in transportation of all the minerals and glucose in the plant. Water provides turgidity, that is your fully distant condition, which is necessary for the stiffness of plant tissues. As we all know that if you don't water the plant for a few days, then what's happened? All the leaves of the plant, they droop down. It means the stiffness is due to water only. Water not only gives the stiffness to the plant parts, but it also gives stiffness to each and every cells of the plant body. Water also help in opening and closing of stomata, and which is controlled by the turgidity in guard cells. When the guard cells are turgid, means when fully charged with water, they are open, and when they become flaccid, means when they are not fully charged with water, they closed. Next is your need of minerals for plants. Actually, plants, they required these salts like nitrates, phosphates and sulfates, and ions like calcium, potassium and magnesium, which are essential for different functions in the plants. Let's discuss their functions. Magnesium is required for synthesis of chlorophyll, while zinc is essential for leaf formation. Calcium is required for maintaining semi-permeability of the cell membrane. Potassium is required to control the opening and closing of stoma. Manganese is required for is essential for photolysis of water in photosynthesis, and nitrogen is required for protein synthesis, which help in the growth and development of the plant. Now let's discuss how the roots they absorb water and minerals from the soil. Actually, the ability of roots to absorb water depend on the following factors. First is your enormous surface area. The surface area of roots is enormous. The extensive root system naturally has tremendous surface area for the absorption of water. If we take an example of a 4-month-old rye plant, the total length of the root system is estimated to be 620 km with a daily increase of 5 km. And the surface area in this rye plant root system is estimated to be 255 square meter. And because of this enormous surface area, roots are able to absorb water from the soil. Second characteristics of roots is what root hairs they contain cell sap of higher concentration than that of the surrounding water. Before discussing this point, let's see the structure of a root. Morphologically, the root system consists of the main root, and the main root give out branches. They are called lateral roots or secondary roots. And then secondary roots they give rise to tertiary roots, and tertiary roots they contain what? Root hairs. Root hairs are unicellular and are produced in thick cluster. They are very thin, allowing the water molecules and mineral salts to diffuse through them easily. Root hair is made up of a single cell. It is an extension of epidermal cell of a root and contains a vacuole. This vacuole contains cell sap rich with salts. These dissolved salts they create a high concentration in the root hairs. And because of this high concentration of cell sap, then the surrounding soil water it help in drawing water in from outside by the process called osmosis. And that is why water diffuses from outside into the root cells. Then third characteristics of roots is root hairs have thin wall. Like all plant cells, root hairs also have two outer layers. First is your cell wall and second is your cell membrane. Now the cell wall is thin and freely permeable, and it allows movement of water molecules and dissolved substances in and out of the cell. And the cell membrane is very thin and semi-permeable, which allows water molecules to pass through but not the larger molecules of the dissolved salts. And that is why in roots the most efficient reason of water absorption is the root hair zone. Next is your mechanism of absorption of water and minerals. Actually, the absorption of water and minerals from the soil by the roots and their exchange between the adjoining cells involve many processes such as imbibition, diffusion, osmosis, active transport and plasmolysis. Let's discuss each and every process one by one. And the first process is imbibition. It is a phenomenon by which the living or dead plant cells absorb water by the surface attraction, or the absorption of water by the solid particles of a substance in their dry or semi-dry state without forming a solution is called imbibition. Common examples of imbibition that we observe daily are dry seeds. When soaked in water, they swell up and their seed coat bursts. And second is your jamming of wooden doors and windows in rainy season. And the next process is diffusion. It is the free movement of molecules of a substance. It may be solid or liquid or gases from the region of their higher concentration to the region of their lower concentration when the two are in direct contact. The phenomenon of diffusion is a matter of common observation in our daily life. As all of you know, when you opened a perfume bottle in one corner of a room, its odor or smell spreads throughout the room within a few seconds. Another example may be when a sugar is added in water. Its molecules diffuse throughout the liquid, giving it a uniformly sweet taste. To demonstrate the process of diffusion in liquids, we can take a test tube which contain a clean water. Then place a crystal of potassium permanganate in one corner and keep it undisturbed. After some time, what you will observe that the crystals of potassium permanganate, they dissolve in water slowly and the colors start spreading from its higher concentration to lower concentration, and finally the molecules of the crystals are diffused and distributed uniformly, making the color of solution homogeneous. Means it become totally pink. Next process is osmosis. What is osmosis? It is a movement of water molecules from their region of higher concentration to the region of their lower concentration through a semi-permeable membrane. It means solvent molecules, they move from dilute solution to a concentrated solution. Depending upon the movement of water into or out of the cells, osmosis is of two types. First is your endosmosis. It is the inward diffusion of water through a semi-permeable membrane when the surrounding solution is less concentrated, and it causes swelling of the cell. Means water will move from outside to inside through a semi-permeable membrane, and the roots, they absorb water from their surroundings by the process of endosmosis only. Next is your exosmosis. It is the outward diffusion of water through a semi-permeable membrane when the surrounding solution is more concentrated, and it causes a cell shrinkage. In the process of osmosis, we require semi-permeable membrane. So actually let's discuss the different types of membranes. First is your impermeable membrane. For example, rubber sheet. Actually this is the membrane which do not allow the diffusion of either solvent or solute molecules through them. Second is your freely permeable membrane. Is a membrane which allow the diffusion of both solute and solvent molecules through them. For example, muslin cloth and cell wall. Third is your semi-permeable membrane. So what is semi-permeable membrane? It is a membrane which allow the diffusion of solvent molecules through them but resist the movement of solute molecules. And examples of semi-permeable membrane, they are egg membrane, whisking bag, goat's bladder, sheep's bladder, cellophane paper are the examples of semi-permeable membrane. Now next is your selectively permeable membrane or differentially permeable membrane. It is a membrane which allow the useful substances to diffuse in and harmful substances to diffuse out of the cell. And for example of differentially permeable or selectively permeable membrane is cell membrane. It allow only useful substances to move in and harmful substances to move out. Let's demonstrate the process of osmosis. In this process, we will take a thistle funnel and close a wide open end of thistle funnel with the help of cellophane paper and seal it with the help of wax. Then fill this thistle funnel with sugar solution and suspend the thistle funnel in the beaker which contain water. Then mark the initial levels of sugar solution in thistle funnel and water level in the beaker, and allow the apparatus to stand for some time. After some time, what you will observe that the level of solution in thistle funnel rises up, while the level of solution or water falls in the beaker. Now the question is, why the level of solution in thistle funnel rises up? And the answer is because the concentration of water is more in the beaker as compared to the concentration in the thistle funnel. That is why water diffuses from the beaker into the thistle funnel through semi-permeable membrane and shows the process of endosmosis. Here the cellophane paper acts as a semi-permeable membrane. Okay, thank you children, and rest of the part of this chapter we will continue in next video.